Porter, please. Phil Porter.
The OECD Skills Survey has shown our young adults perform poorly in comparison with those of other countries. Where have we gone wrong?
This is the figures that came out of a long list of 24 countries, with England, not Scotland and Wales, England at number 19 on literacy and number 21 on numeracy of 16 to 24-year-olds. You're in the teaching business there, Churchwell. What do you think's gone wrong?
Well, as I said a moment ago, I arrived here 14 years ago, and I've been teaching literature ever since. And there's no question in my mind that literacy has dramatically declined. And I see it every day. So these results come as absolutely no surprise to me. And my colleagues who work in maths and sciences have seen similar problems with numeracy. So this is clearly happening. As far as what's gone wrong, my own feeling is that well, now I'm going to say something that's going to maybe really shock everybody, but I'm not sure that I believe in a national curriculum, actually. I don't come from a background of a national curriculum, and I'm not sure that one individual or even one cabinet can sit down and decide what is the best way to teach everybody across a nation. And I actually think that the results that you know, are comparing better with the UK are often from places that have more flexible teaching options.
Well, except that America, where you do come from, is below England on these figures. Nobody mentioned that. They all went on about Finland being way up at the top. But United States is bottom of numeracy and third bottom on literacy.
Absolutely. The United States, well, look, the United States is currently, its government has shut down. Nothing is working there. I mean, the United States is clearly not a test example, and I was not in any way suggesting that it's currently working. But you know, as far as what can fix this, you know, I think that you have to let. I do believe that you have to let teachers teach. I think you have to trust that they can do their jobs. I think that you need to stop interfering with them and trying to tweak everything every time.
So you're against testing, you're against.
Well, obviously one must test, but I think
you
have to do some testing, obviously. But yeah, I don't think they're constantly being taught to the test. It creates affirmative teaching where they only know the answers to the test. They're actually not learning the skills that they need in order to actually understand the subject. And it is a waste of everything.
Matthew Parris, where have we gone wrong, was the question.
I'm not sure that we have. I'm not sure there's been a substantial decline in literacy.
Well, you should come to my classroom and you read the essays that I've read over the last 14 years, and you will find a substantial, demonstrable decline in literacy. I'm sorry, you're simply wrong.
I was a member of Parliament for about 7 years, many decades ago. And I must say that the most illiterate letters often came from my more elderly constituents. I'm not sure that we've ever been that brilliant at literacy or numeracy in the United Kingdom. I think perhaps...
We've always been crap, so it's okay.
I think perhaps that children learn the skills that they think they're going to need, and there may be other skills now which children are learning, and perhaps they're not as fluent in the classics.
So it doesn't matter, literacy and numeracy don't matter, really?
I think you need to read and write, and beyond that, and do a little bit of adding up, but you can do it on your mobile phone these days.
Wow.
I think beyond that, people will teach themselves the skills that they need. Okay. I never learnt very much at school anyway.
except obviously to read and write. Yeah. I don't know, how's your numeracy? Poor,
medium.
Probably. Medium. You, sir?
Well, Matthew, you just picked up on people can learn on the mobile phone, but it's actually through things with text speak and various things like that, and internet, anagrams and stuff like that, that literacy is devolving within the UK. So it's no surprise, really, is it, when people are talking in abbreviated forms that people can't spell properly and can't articulate themselves efficiently.
But Finland, Japan, Korea, they all have mobile phones. They all do exactly the same thing, don't they?
They do.
Why are they number 1, 2 and 3 at the top of the list?
Because they obviously focus on their own language as well.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't just look at the devolved grammar that a lot of youngsters are using these days.
That they just naturally know how to speak their own language perfectly. It doesn't
Maybe
work.
they're easier languages.
Yeah, that must be it.
In the third row, you, sir.
At my old school, students performed badly because the teachers didn't love the subject. What they did love was the paycheck.
Really?
Really?
Ooh, yeah.
You have to give the name and address of the school to the teachers here.
I had no idea teachers were that well paid.
No. OK, you send the bang in the centre there, in the sort of red checked shirt on. Yeah.
quite a few of these countries at the top of the OECD charts have a much later starting age for schools. Finland, I believe, is 6 or 7. Do the panel think that would help in the UK?
Help. That's a good point. We'll keep, and somebody thrust their hand up as they heard that being said. The woman there in the second row from the back.
I think part of the problem maybe in our primary schools today really is maybe our schools are trying to juggle too many subjects. There's such a focus on giving a very rounded syllabus of focusing on the sciences and some of the given a foundation knowledge of foreign languages. I think maybe there should be a greater focus on getting the kids to know the basics of English grammar, rather than trying to put too many things in their heads when they do not know the basics of their own language.
Diane Abbott, what do you think's gone wrong?
Well, if
anything has.
This didn't happen overnight. And if you're going to look to the root of the problem, it obviously, parts of it emerged when you had a Labour government. Now, we did some fantastic things in education, investment in higher education, investment in schools and so on. But I think perhaps that the emphasis which said that 50% of the education population has to go to university perhaps skewed the debate to university and the sort of child that can get to university at the expense of basic skills and crafts and just real skills, not just reading and writing, but real skills. And we are talking now as a party about redressing that and focusing on the people who aren't necessarily going to university but should know valuable skills. I think we need a reset on education policy. University, I mean, it's a funny thing to say in a university town, university will always be absolutely the right thing for a great many people, and we want as many people who can benefit to go there, but we need a reset and a focus on basic skills.
Okay. Of course, Joe Swinson, these figures don't apply to you, do they? Because they don't include Scotland.
No, apparently the Scottish government didn't want to pay to be part of the study, but which...
You have to pay to be part of the study, to put yourself at number 20, 19 and 21 of 24, do you?
But, to get the data gathered, and I think it is useful to be able to understand where we are against other countries. You know, we are competing in a global economy, and this is incredibly important. And, I mean, Diane says the Labour government did some good things, but, you know, Tony Blair did promise his priority was going to be education, education, education. And these figures are from children that started their education between 1998 and 2007.
No,
and it is a pretty damning indictment to be at the bottom of those tables for literacy and numeracy.
I'm a London MP. I have 5 brand new secondary schools in my constituency, and the results of London children, because we actually put some focus on London children, have shot up. I'm not saying, and I've never said everything the Labour government, Tony Blair, God knows, did was perfect, but we did some great things in education, and it's not fair to the teachers who worked so hard in that period to say something different.
Well, I'm saying that we need to be incredibly worried, and you know, I think Matthew's perhaps a little bit complacent. I think we need to be incredibly worried because literacy and numeracy are the basic skills. You're going to find it really hard to get a job if you don't have basic literacy and numeracy. And it's not good enough for us to say that we've not been good at this traditionally, or that perhaps things are going to be okay and in some parts of the country they're fine. We are letting those young people down, and that's why it's important that we are raising the age at which young people have to learn to 18 and making them have to continue their maths and their English in some form until that age. But we also need to make sure that the young people that have been failed, those who are in that 16 to 24 cohort at the moment, and some of whom are finding it very difficult to get a job, sometimes because of the lack of these skills, that they get the extra support they need. And that's why I think the new traineeship model that the government is undertaking is absolutely vital to plug the gap in those skills.
To support those young people that you did away with the educational maintenance allowance. To support them, was that what it was about?
Well, I think what we're doing is making sure that those skills are ones that can be developed with young people, that they can get the skills they need to then get on and get a job, which they're going to find difficult without literacy and numeracy.
And of course, Diane, you didn't show much confidence in state education yourself. It's well known you sent your children to private schools.
Yes, but I would say this. My son is now 22. When I had to decide on a secondary school, Labour had just come into office. If I had to make the same decision again, thanks to the investment in secondary schools in Hackney over the 13 years of Labour government. I would happily send him to a range of schools in Hackney, including Mossbourne, which was led by the very charismatic current Chief Inspector of Education, who was a Hackney head.
Do we have teachers here who'd like just to comment on this? Are you a teacher? You've spoken already tonight. You haven't? All right, far away then, and then I come down. Are you a teacher too?
I trained in East London to be a teacher and was really shocked at the poverty that a lot of children are experiencing. And I think actually a more shocking statistic is that to be a child in this country is very bad. And I think the root cause is actually a lot of children have a lot of other worries apart from learning to read when they're at home. They're worried about food. They're worried that they're sharing a bedroom with 3 other siblings. So there are basic care issues that I really didn't think existed.
Rather than the education system
yeah, because
itself.
Diane's right. You see in London a massive transformation of education, but you're still facing chronic inequality when you're in the shadow of Canary Wharf.
Point taken. Adam Afriyie.
I think Diane's point was incorrect, actually. She was talking about the educational maintenance allowance, which no longer exists. Yeah. But that was also in play during this whole study. So it was there because this was Labour's period. People studying between 98 and 2007. But the point I wanted to make was this, is that the other observation is that actually we were moving down. At that point, through that period, we were moving downwards. So it's not just about where we were actually moving backwards. And I think part of it was that we were kind of dumbing down the exam system. There's no criticism of teachers or of pupils. I mean, yeah, they do the best that they can. But there was this whole feeling that everybody must get a higher grade. So there's this grade inflation. And I think, Michael Gove is doing, I'm just saying this, I know that he's not very popular with teachers. I know that, but he's doing some fantastic work in terms of making the exam system robust so that when you leave school, you know that the grades that you've got will be recognised around the whole world. And with the English baccalaureate, it's now very telling that the percentage of people who are taking the baccalaureate, it fell to about 25% under the Labour government. It's already back up to about 50%. Something good is happening. I hope it continues.
All right. Matthew, just briefly. And I'll take a couple more points. I'll come to you.
Just very brief observations. Sarah said, and I can't contradict her, that she's noticed the standard of writing of your students has gone down a lot in the last, did you say 19 years?
14.
Last 14 years. Well, of course, during the last 14 years, there's been a huge increase in the proportion of school leavers who go on to university. And I wonder whether part of the explanation may simply be a drop in the calibre of your students.
No, I actually don't think that it is. And I think that part of the issue here, because first of all, we're seeing it across, I mean, I obviously am in contact with other people at other universities, we're seeing it across the board. What I think is the issue, and I would agree with the gentleman who asked about children going to school older. I think that that's probably a good idea. I think they're starting way too young. I think that the testing culture has absolutely proven to be detrimental. It is not actually teaching them what they need to learn. And the other issues that the gentleman there was raising about poverty and the other anxieties and concerns that children have, of course, these are all things that we need to deal with as a society. But as Joe said, these are absolutely key skills without which you cannot get forward in life. And we have to make a priority of making sure that the skills are taught. And I really do believe we have to trust teachers to be, and stop interfering with them all the time. Just let them do what they do. But it's really important.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go on because we've got lots of